Hello and welcome to the Thursday's edition of Political Voice. My name is Sumto Ajamma. As usual, there is a lot happening in the political space in Nigeria, but we will be focusing on two significant topics across the polity today, beginning with AFCC taking fresh legal action against Yahaya Bello's lawyers. And then, of course, there's Governor Fubara declaring PDP has failed us. We now operate as a movement. Two very interesting stories that you want to stay tuned for. But before we get right into the stories, let's take a global overview of happenings around the world. In Tunisia, the Defense Ministry said yesterday that a soldier was killed in a shooting attack near the border with Libya. The ministry further noted that the military patrol came under fire from an unknown source in the demilitarized border area in the southeastern province of Tatatouine. However, an investigation has been launched into the incident. Tunisia has stepped up security measures along the porous border with Libya to combat trafficking and smuggling. Recall that in 2013, Tunisia declared the southern border strip connecting it with Algeria and Libya a demilitarized zone, allowing entry only with authorized permits issued by the authorities. And in 2015, a 250-kilometer-long buffer trench was dug along the border. The Tunisian-Libyan border spans approximately 500 kilometers, with only two land crossings at Ras Ajir and Dehiba was in. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, said yesterday that no progress was achieved in implementing the agreement between Belgrade and Pristina in Brussels. Speaking after meetings with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić and Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti, Borrell said that the European Union will continue to exert all its efforts and capacity to normalize relations between Belgrade and Pristina. Borrell added that Kosovo was not willing to do the trilateral meeting, though Serbia was ready, and they both need to sit around the table in order to continue the dialogue. Serbia and Kosovo leaders were in Brussels for talks to implement an EU-backed plan to normalize ties. However, unresolved issues, including Pristina's demands that Belgrade hands over the suspected organizers of the Banjska attack, blocked further progress. And at home here in Nigeria, suspected bandits have started enforcing tax and levy collections from residents of Toro and nearby communities in Ukum local government area of Benue State. A resident speaking anonymously reported that the bandits have imposed a monthly levy of 20 million naira on the community. The residents added that no one, including village heads, dare challenge the armed gangs or report the matter to authorities. The caretaker chairman of Ukum local government area, Mr. Victor Ayoza, confirmed the situation, stating that the bandits are indeed demanding 20 million naira from the people. Ayoza identified the bandits known as Full Fire as the mastermind behind the levy, working in collaboration with armed herdsmen. He noted that the community is living in fear, and although the government and security forces are working to address the issue, the situation remains dire. Special advisor to the governor on internal security, Joseph Har, responded by asserting that the bandits are on the run and cannot sustain their operations. We will now go on a short break, and when we return, we will delve into today's focus. Stay with us. Welcome back to Political Voice. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, filed a request with the Federal High Court in Abuja to initiate legal proceedings against the two lawyers representing the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. VOP reports that the lawyers Abdul Wahab Mohammed and Adiola Adedipe, who are both senior advocates of Nigeria, have been accused of professional misconduct and contempt of court. The EFCC alleges that they made a commitment in open court to produce their client, but failed to fulfill this promise. In an application presented by their lead counsel, Kemi Pinheiro, SAN, the EFCC claims that the two senior lawyers intentionally prevented Bello from appearing in court, thereby obstructing his arraignment. The lead counsel specifically requested Justice Emeka Nwite to enforce Rule 31 of the Rules of Professional Conduct for Legal Practitioners in order to penalize the two lawyers and uphold the integrity and dignity of the court. Pinheiro stated that the two attorneys are accused of leveraging their legal expertise and understanding of the court's processes to obstruct the former governor's criminal trial. Meanwhile, the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has also requested the transfer of the EFCC case against him to Kogi State. He argues that since the alleged offense occurred during his tenure as governor of the state, it's only appropriate for the legal proceedings to be conducted there. The EFCC has been investigating Bello over allegations of financial misconduct and misuse of public funds during his time in office. Recall that the Court of Appeal in Abuja set aside the contempt proceedings instituted by Yahaya Bello against the chairman of the EFCC, Olanipekun Olukoyede. The Court of Appeal granted an ex parte motion for stay of proceedings on that contempt application against Olukoyede by Bello. And now joining us in the studio, of course, is Barrister Darlington Agomo, lawyer and political affairs analyst. Good evening, Barrister Darlington. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good evening. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you once again. And virtually, we have Mohammed Abdullahi, public affairs analyst and political commentator. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Nigerians. Always my pleasure.
All right. Now, this particular conversation is one that's definitely making the rounds at the moment, particularly because the EFCC is basically saying that now they want to sue both lawyers for contempt or contempt of court for misleading the court. They're basically saying that at this point, they're intentionally leveraging their understanding of the court processes and intentionally not allowing Yahaya Bello to appear in court. And in a twist or by a turn of some kind, Adiola Adedipe, who is one of the counsels, said he's not the lead counsel, and he asked to withdraw his representation for Yahaya Bello, citing Section 349, subsection 8 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015. Now, a lot of people have been talking about the fact that this is just another strategy to frustrate the trial, in addition to the fact that the EFCC is accusing them of understanding the processes and using that to not bring Yahaya Bello to court. I'm going to start with you, Barrister Darlington. What is your take on the EFCC suit of the lawyers for contempt of court and for professional conduct, not applying proper professional conduct in the court? What is your take on that? And is this just another strategy to elongate the trial?
Thank you, Somto. It is unfortunate. Seriously. This is corruption on its own. As a legal professional, there are certain conditions, there are certain privileges you don't need to abuse. If you have said before an open court that you produce your clients, and you fail to do so, EFCC is even wasting time. All they needed is to apply to the court to serve you from 48 and from 49. These are committal forms. Show cause why you should not take over as Yahaya Bello. That is what bail is all about. If you are bailing somebody, the understanding is that if this person failed to appear, you who took him on bail, you will take over his case, so you will become the defendant. It doesn't matter who you are. I want to refer you to what happened at Ibori when his matter was going on in UK. His lawyer, an Indian lawyer, excuse me, who wanted to compromise the UK judiciary, he was sent to jail with Ibori, his client. He was sent to jail. Look, everything has broken down in Nigeria, seriously. These are people who are supposed to hold the highest esteem of the judiciary, of the legal profession. What are they telling those below them? What are they telling them? You are here, you have not even advised your client, please show up in court. After all, this is the bailable offense. That is how to show integrity.
And this is I just have to add the fact that this is the 5th time that he has not shown up in court. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. This is the 5th time he's not coming to court.
And lawyers are representing him. They appear in court to take excuse for him. The man is even above our laws now. He's asking the court to be shifted, to be moved to his house. I will not blame him because it happened under Ibori. Ibori, in his own case, he brought a division in Delta, built to the court, and even selected his own judges. And that was why, out of the 173 count, the court exonerated him on all of them until they chased him into Dubai. And of course, the rest is history. Mm-hmm. The same man that you discharged and acquitted in Nigeria was jailed in the UK after he pleaded guilty. That will tell you where we are.
Let's talk about that.
It's an embarrassment, seriously. It's an embarrassment. EFC should not wait. Let them go and serve those lawyers. Let them serve them from 48 and from 49. Let them show cause before the court. What are they wasting time for?
They actually need to understand that Yahaya Bello is not working independently on this one. They represent him, and so whatever he does reflects on them. And if this does not happen, if there's no sort of justice done to these people, I don't think they'll take this matter as seriously as they should. So this particular lawsuit bears a lot of weight on the outcome of this case.
Of course, because it will show that where our legal profession is now, especially senior lawyers who are supposed to show example. I just gave you an example here, what happened in UK. That is why we are not moving forward.
And this Adedipe guy that is withdrawing his representation, I feel like he's just trying to remove his hand from the fire.
Of course, you are seeing what is going on. It's becoming an embarrassment because whether you like it or not, it will impact on your legal profession, on your legal standing in the profession. It will impact. The disciplinary committee are watching. I know that MBA will talk on this matter. Let them clean up this particular profession and stop embarrassing everybody, for God's sake. Why would you allow politicians to mess up the profession? Why?
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Darlington. Over to you, Mohammed Abdullahi. Now, I'm not talking about the EFCC and the lawsuit against the lawyers, because Barrister Darlington has done justice to that. But the transfer request, so to speak, of Yahaya Bello asking the case to be moved to Kogi State. Now, some people would say that this is just an antic to bring the case closer to somewhere where he feels that he has some advantage, somewhere where he feels like he has some clout. He maybe has people in his pocket. He maybe has connections in the judiciary. Because why does it matter that he's tried in Kogi State and not in Abuja? Why is that especially important to him? And let's not forget that this is the same person that gave out SUVs to judges in December 2023. So in the same Kogi State that he's asking for his case to be transferred to, and this is also somebody who attempted to make his wife a state high court judge. And if not for the National Judicial Commission, that would have actually happened. So there are a lot of layers in this story that is making this transfer request particularly tricky just by looking at it. Is this another antic just by Yahaya Bello to elongate the trial, to make it look like he's not doing the right thing, or to just basically give himself some kind of advantage?
It's a bit of a challenging question for me to answer because I'm not a constitutional lawyer. But just a little, I'm sure Mr. Darlington will be in the best position to really give an overview of what the Constitution says. But I think my little opinion is the fact that perhaps he might be right and then at the same time wrong. In my own little opinion, what EFCC is accusing Yahaya Bello of was committed wholesomely in Kogi State. You understand? So, and if we understand perhaps what has been happening across Nigeria, precedents, perhaps such cases are started in that particular state where the accused or those offenses happen, and then it can be escalated henceforth to perhaps higher court outside the state and so on and so forth, maybe appeal court and even up to the Supreme Court, depending on what the plaintiff and the defendants agree upon or they're fighting upon. Yeah, so in one breath, in my own opinion, please, I'm not speaking as a lawyer, as an ordinary Nigerian. In one breath, I feel, yes, he's not totally wrong. I mean, Yahaya Bello is not totally wrong asking for the case to perhaps begin in Kogi State. It may make it easier for even the research team and even the FCC to conduct and gather all the evidences, perhaps even against him. But in another breath, you know, you want to understand what our politician does, like you said. It's also unfortunate that whether at the state level and at the federal level, it's very glaring to many Nigerians that the judiciary that is supposed to be very much independent is not. It's not independent. In fact, the way our politics is, the judiciary is much even more dependent on the executive than the legislature. You understand? And which is not supposed to be so. Perhaps it's the way our constitution designed it, that it is the executive that appoint these guys. You know, so maybe it's something that we need to review seriously, because for the fact that he, as a governor, like you mentioned, shared SUVs to judges, you know, every other largesse that we talk about, coming from the executive to the judiciary. So definitely they will want to play to the whims and caprices of those people who are playing the tune. You know, so, but this is just my opinion. So I feel, yeah, it's a two-way thing. He's right, and it's also wrong to some extent, based on precedents of things that have happened in the past in such a situation.
That's again an interesting submission. Talking about the review, that's a whole different kettle of fish right there. Review of the Constitution and the fact that the executive have those rights. But that, again, that's a whole different conversation. I'm going to redirect this one back to you, Barrister Darlington. You mentioned Iborit's case as some kind of precedent. Does that case as a precedent validate this request at the moment? And do we think that the judge will go for this? And I'm saying this because in Kogi State, clearly, there are a lot of indications to prove that Yahaya Bello has some connections in those states that could very possibly manipulate the entire process if it's taken all the way to Kogi State. I mean, he was literally removed from his house when the EFCC came to arrest him previously by somebody in that state as well, somebody of influence as well. So there are a lot of layers to this that you can use to conclude on the fact that, like it or not, transferring the case to Kogi State may do more harm than good at the end of the day.
Please, which authority is prosecuting Yahaya Bello? Economic and Financial Crime Commission is a federal government agency. You don't decide. It's like a criminal is arrested. He now said, no, my father is a lawyer. He will be the one to take over my case. You now take on your own. This is a criminal matter.
But if it has happened before, doesn't that mean it can happen again?
What happened in the Delta was an aberration. And I've told you how it ended. Did it end well? It didn't. It didn't. It's just that we have allowed so many things to go wrong in all our institutions. Yahaya Bello have no right to tell them to bring the matter to Kogi State. Why do we have a appeal court? Okay, why can't we have a Supreme Court in all the states? Hold on. Why can't we have Supreme Court in all the states? No matter where your case is being prosecuted, the moment it gets to after appeal, the next place is what? Supreme Court, as is in Abuja. So, as a federal government agency, the federal high court can be cited anywhere. Your matter can be taken anywhere, just to claim that, just to show that neutrality in the prosecution. You cannot be a judge in your own case. Already, you know that all the judges in Kogi have been bought over. There must be a reason why, what is it called? Why Yahaya Bello is saying they should bring her. After giving them SUV, what does that tell you? And the wife is equally standing by in the same Kogi. So what are you telling me?
But let me ask you, let me play devil's advocate and just ask you that.
Go ahead.
If his wife is playing or is on standby, as you said, and he's resident in that state, isn't there a higher chance, or aren't there higher chances that he would actually show up in court this time if the case is transferred to Kogi State? Is that a possibility that we can even look into?
He may show up, according to him, but the fairness to the law may not be there.
So showing up is not even the point.
It's not the point.
The proceedings, the way it actually happens.
Yes, because I told you here, whenever these matters are before the states, sentiment may come in, especially for a governor who has been very generous to the judiciary and all that. Sentiment will definitely come in. And that is why the EFCC, what the EFCC is trying to avoid. They want to take this matter to where there will be neutrality on both parties. That is how to obtain justice. You don't select the court you don't. That's not what the court is there to do. This is not a state matter. It has gone beyond the state. Somebody may say, yes, it happened in Lagos State and all that. You don't use an aberration as an example. You don't. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. Because something illegal has happened somewhere, you want to copy it. That is why we are not moving forward. All
right, quick question, Mr. Darlington, and I'm going to ask Mr. Abdullahi the same thing. Is there any guarantee that the fact that it will be happening in Abuja, and that is, again, we do not know if that will be the case, but if this request for the trial movement to Kogi State is not granted and it actually happens in Abuja, the trial goes on in Abuja, does that change the fact, or is there any guarantee, let me phrase it that way, that he will actually answer for his sins because the EFCC is trying him in Abuja? Barrister Darlington, let me let you answer that, and then Mr. Abdullahi, I'll come to you.
What the man is taking advantage of the weaknesses in our judiciary, nothing else.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking whether or not it's moved to Kogi State. Is there any guarantee that if it's happening in Abuja, the trial happening in Abuja would actually change anything? Will we get justice just because it's happening in Abuja?
Of course. Why not? I've told you here. Why do you think the man want the trial to go on in Kogi? Because he's their homeboy. You can see some people protesting on his behalf with all the evidence before us. The judges may give him a soft landing because he's their son or he's their own. He bought them a SUV and all that. These are things that we want to avoid. So we cannot say because this type of thing has been going on and all that. If you check, this thing has been going on over a long period of time. You saw what happened in Rivers. When because in Abuja said the matter should be brought in Rivers and all that, the 27 lawmakers. And you can see judges. This one will give order based on sentiment on where he or she is. The other one will counter it based on sentiment that is on the side of the law. Is that how we are moving forward? I just gave you a simple example here. Even Ekweremadu, when he was being tried in UK, the judge did not bother with sentiment. He said he received 55 letters pleading on behalf of Ekweremadu. 55. He read all of them, and at the end of the day, he did what he's supposed to do. That letter, prominent people from Nigeria and outside Nigeria pleaded on his behalf as the deputy senate president. Yet the man did not bother.
Thank you very much.
Be sincere to yourself, Sonto. If Ekweremadu were to be in Nigeria today, tell me the truth. Will he go to jail? He wouldn't even appear before the police to answer any question.
As much as there's a validity to that statement,
please,
we have to also talk about the fact that the justice system in Nigeria, a lot of people understand this. This is popular opinion, regardless of how subjective or sentimental it may be, that the judicial process in Nigeria is flawed in a lot of ways. Now, the EFCC being the ones that are leveling the charges, being the ones behind the prosecution of Yahaya Bello, does not guarantee the fact that there would be neutrality enough for justice to be served. And these are the concerns of people. And that's why I'm redirecting this question back to you, Mr. Abdullahi, that Barrister Darlington is saying that neutrality will stand better if the case is tried in Abuja, as opposed to
or
the request
anywhere outside your state, because federal high court are all over the place.
Or anywhere.
You don't even
so
need
he's
to
saying Kogi State is the worst possible option.
Yes.
At this point, particularly because that is where Yahaya Bello is domiciled in. So do you think that there's any guarantee outside of Kogi State for justice to be served just because, again, it's not in his immediate jurisdiction?
It's a quite difficult one to answer.
Of course, but I want to hear your thoughts on it, regardless.
The thing is, again, to be quite honest as well, we still don't have the right to say 100% judges, even in Kogi State, are in total support or 100% favor Yahaya Bello in the case. There might definitely still be, even if it's one, still possibly people who still want to do the right thing. Just like people who say over this country, maybe classify everyone as corrupt, but it's not true. There are people who are still very upright, whether in government or even public service and private corporations. So the fact that, yes, he wants the case to come to Kogi doesn't really outrightly. Yes, there's advantage there for him, being the former governor and what he's been able to do for the judges and even the judiciary and so on and so forth. But still doesn't give 100% guarantee that the judges might outrightly favor him. I think it is also good to be fair on the judges. You understand? Not to really cast 100% aspersions on their persons and their personality and their profession. But again, the advantage is also there for him. It's tough. It's just like football. When you come home to play, you have advantage over your opponent. But I think, again, the question should necessarily or definitely be, what is the EFCC actually waiting for in moving to actually arrest him? I don't know. As a former governor, Yahaya Bello is not hiding under a rock. I'm very sure, like an ordinary Nigerian would do. If he's evaded court summons about 4 or 5 times, I'm sure the FCC knows the right thing, how to, get the adequate court orders to actually arrest him. They can.
Let's not forget that one of his reasons for being absent in courts was that he was scared that he would be arrested. And that is particularly concerning for a lot of people, just even thinking about the story, because of course you will be arrested. That is due process for a lot of people. And why does he have to be exempt because he's a person of influence or because he's part of the elite, he's part of the 1% of the 1%? So does that fear even mean anything in the first place? And the fact that this is happening right now is very, very concerning.
It is. And that's what I'm saying. The AFCC has the backing. The law backs them, to carry out their duty judiciously. So if someone has been evading court summons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, the FCC knows what to do. Seriously, I don't think it's part of the reasons why, even in the time past, the FCC keeps losing high-profile cases, because some of these cases, the way they are being handled is actually laughable. You can't say you don't know where to find Yahaya Bello. I don't want to believe that. Yes, we saw that perhaps maybe they tried to arrest him some times back and someone whisked him away and so on.
Yes,
again, another challenge we have that our agencies, our security agencies don't work in harmoniously together. Yes, but again, the FCC can do a better job, seriously, because we've seen what they've been doing across this country, going to people's homes, in fact, even schools at the wee time of the night, midnight, and so on, when people are least expected, to go and raid perhaps who they call Yahoo boys and, criminals hide out here and there. So why can't they do this? So if I think it's within their right to arrest him and forcefully bring him to court. Yes, it's a criminal case. It's not a civil case.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi.
Bring him to court if he's running away from court.
I'm going to pose that question to you, Mr. Darlington. Mr. Abdullahi just voiced out a very valid concern as to why EFCC really has not arrested him. Why does it have to be that they have to wait for him to jejely at his own pace when he is good and ready to come to court, and then they will arrest him if they so desire, so to say. Because why else, as Mr. Abdullahi has properly pointed out, it's a criminal case. So why is it taking forever and ever and ever for them to get him arrested?
Sonto, as that today, nobody knows where Yahaya Bello is. He's incommunicado.
But is it not possible for EFCC to find him? Is this not something that they do?
Even if you find him, it's not enough that you have found him. Have you found him? That is the question. Maybe they have tried. They have checked where they're supposed to check. EFCC cannot go to government house in Kogi and start transacting everywhere. It will cause a lot of hoopla. And that is where I think Yahaya Bello could find sanctuary at this point. He cannot be in his home. It's not possible.
But he was reported to be in Morocco, and that's still in Africa. So what about that?
Okay, fine. So he has already left the country.
Again, I said reported, because again, one cannot be too sure.
Good. That means you need extradition order. It's not something that EFCC can do. It's the federal government that will do that. Yes.
You've said yourself that EFCC is a federal organization. So is that not something they can institute?
No. When it comes to extradition, the police have to go through Interpol. Remember when they wanted to get a design and all that? There are processes.
Yes, there are.
Government
but
agencies.
it's something that they can do.
Good. Yes, the federal government will now have to back them up. They can't on their own institute it.
Yes, of course.
It's not possible.
Of course. So why are they not working with the federal, with the police?
The question now is hold on. The question now is, how did he even get out of Nigeria if at all he had left? How did he get out of Nigeria? That means there are some powers that are backing him.
I don't think that's no secret. That is no secret. It's arguable because people have not been able to identify these powers that are backing him. But it's not a secret that people are backing him.
The same power may have stopped EFCC from further action. It's as simple as that.
So there are external forces out. There could be external forces.
If not, somebody would have given order. EFCC, go to that government house, check that man there and bring him out. Nobody has given such order. And I know if EFCC was given such order, they will go there, they will invade the place and bring him out. So there are powers that are backing Yahaya Bello. That's why he's playing these pranks on us.
Okay. If we're going by this same logic, what are the chances that Yahaya Bello will now show up if it's transferred to Kogi State?
In his state, that's another thing. So when he was saying that they should bring the matter to his state, is it when they bring the matter to his state that he will now show up? No, tell me, because maybe he has some thugs and all that who will now intimidate EFCC. I don't get it.
All right.
There are many reasons, but I'm saying that the federal government didn't do well in this matter. If actually Yahaya Bello have left this country, it is an embarrassment and a shame. Even at that, Tonto, are you not aware that even some cases that EFCC struggled to prosecute properly and judiciously, when these governors are sent to jail, a president will release them and even give them national honor. Did it not happen in this country? This Ajikalu who went to Rivers now to go and play the role of a mediator. Is he not supposed to be in jail? Didn't you know what happened, how they let him out?
All right.
But there are a lot of things that one cannot begin to talk here. It's an embarrassment. If they want to dissolve EFCC, let them dissolve them now. Instead of making them to be selecting cases when it had to do with the one in their good book.
All right, but Mr. Darlington, let's not go that far just yet.
But I mean, what else?
Let's not go that far just yet. And for the benefit of knowledge, for those who don't know, Yahaya Bello is not facing small charges. These are major charges. There's a 19-count charge bordering on money laundering, breach of trust, misappropriation of funds to the tune of about 80.2 billion naira that has been brought against him by the EFCC. And there's another separate count that is talking about the fact that he aided a different firm to conceal the amount of over 3 billion naira in a different bank account here in Nigeria. So there are charges upon charges against him. But my immediate question to you as we round up this particular story, Mr. Abdullahi, would be that his case has been adjourned. His case has been adjourned to July 17th. We do not know whether there will be a transfer of the case from Abuja to Kogi pending July 17th. We're not aware of that just yet. But what do we hope to see? What can we possibly hope to see, given the fact that he has not missed or he has missed court not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times, and even 5th time already. Now, what do we hope to see come July 17th?
I tell everybody that cares to listen. This is Nigeria. Anything and everything is possible.
So it's possible he doesn't make it as well if it's not transferred to Kogi?
It's possible. The most likeliest thing is that Yahaya Bello will still not show in court. That is the most likeliest thing, And it's also very likely, very, very likely that the case is even transferred to Kogi State. It's very likely.
So you're saying that is something that we should potentially expect, just to have both good and bad sides?
Yeah, perhaps we might not want to say it, but perhaps it might be a ploy to grant that request so that perhaps he will come up in court in Kogi and then he will be arrested. It's possible also. So everything is very possible.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi.
That's the possibility that I'm seeing. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Barrister Darlington and Mr. Abdullahi, you want to say something?
Yes, it is.
Very quickly, please, so that we can move on.
Good. It is not proper for Yahaya Bello to be given condition.
Mr. Abdullahi is saying maybe this is a ploy. Maybe it's like a trick so that they can arrest him.
You don't play tricks before the court. What I'm saying in essence is that, look, I would have suggested that the trial can go on in absentia. But the court will always tell you that the other party must be heard. Even though Yahaya Bello
that's his basic right.
Good. Yahaya Bello have already denied himself the right to come and
be heard.
Be heard. So if I were EFCC, I can even go on. If it is possible in their act.
But if that happens, then we have another fundamental human rights right to fair hearing.
No, it cannot. Even their lawyer cannot plead it because they have exhausted all the avenue and the man have refused to show up. You cannot divert the court of justice because of your own selfish interest. Let me tell you, one Tompolo was tried in absentia and he was sentenced in absentia. Tompolo, yes. That militant in the Niger Delta. But today, is it not the one that the federal government gave a contract to be manning our pipeline? Look at that.
That's ironic, to say the least. All right.
Serious issue
Mr.
here.
Darlington, I understand.
A punitive.
We need to move on. This is very triggering on a lot of levels, particularly because there has been cases that have preceded this that has given one cause for concern, which is why this Yahaya Bello's case, once again, is very concerning and very unpredictable because one cannot tell where this goes, whether the case will indeed be transferred for the benefit of the EFCC or not. But regardless, let's move on to our second topic of discussion. The River State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has expressed his disappointment with the People's Democratic Party, PDP, stating that the party has failed him and his supporters in the state. Fubara said this at a meeting with members of the Senate Committee on Privatization led by Senator Orji Kalu at the government's house in Port Harcourt yesterday. Among the committee members was Senator Abba Moro, a former Minister of Interior, whom Governor Fubara acknowledged as a leader within his party, the PDP. The governor amusingly told the Benue politician that he would not adhere to any party protocols, noting that the party had let the state down. He said he and his supporters in Rivers State were now operating as a movement to defend democracy rather than functioning as members of a political party. Now, again, the Rivers crisis is very much one that is in the forefront, and there were a lot of situations that had led to this, particularly the very recent detonation or attempted detonation of an explosive by a man in Port Harcourt who actually wanted to blow up the presidential hotel but later was arrested by the police. According to Fubara, he's saying that it's possible that all that was targeted just so that the call for a declaration of state of emergency would be validated or at least would be defended so that a state of emergency can now be instituted. Now, there has been a lot of chaos coming from the youth agitation that led to the death of that policeman, the protest from the former chairman over tenure extension, and now this explosion attempt. Could all of this not be said to be attempts at inducing a state of emergency in Rivers State by external forces? When you really look at it, is Fubara, is it weird for him to currently say that, oh, the PDP is not particularly helping, and all of this was just to induce a state of emergency? I'll ask you that, Mr. Abdullahi.
Now, I want to say the statement by the governor is it's quite surprising, because to the best of my knowledge, I understand that our constitution, as at now, I don't know, perhaps maybe later, as at now, does not support independent candidacy. Same is the Electoral Act. So the governor, being a member of the PDP, a platform through which he became the governor, just because he has fallen out with his godfather, saying, I'm not outrightly saying he's out of the party, but what he's really insinuating is the fact that he's really deviating from the party, and it's just a movement of his own. So it's quite really surprising, because like I said earlier, we still don't recognize independent candidacy in Nigeria. He's sitting as a governor. He should understand that he's a governor. He's not just a party member or ordinary citizen.
He's saying that the party has failed him, and that he and his supporters are acting as a movement as opposed to members of a functioning political party. It could be interpreted to mean that the party has not backed him in the way that they should. And I ask this particularly because it seems like the party has not done anything bold enough to support the sitting governor at this point. They have not seemingly intervened in the rivalry between he and Wike, nor have they said anything or done anything, particularly with regards to the cabinet issues of the defected lawmakers. And if the party is not directly supporting Fubara, could you not say that they're indirectly supporting Wike? And if that's the case, then when he says that they have failed him, doesn't that have some merit?
Yes, I understand. I quite understand this challenge, but I think he should take charge as the leader of the party in the state.
How?
As the governor. Yes.
How is he expected to do that he's not already doing?
No, definitely, except if he wants to move to another party. You understand? Because as a governor, he should be the leader of the party in the state. And I understand there will be challenges, because perhaps he's finding challenge in the fact that the current leadership of PDP in the state are more tuned towards the man in Abuja. I mean, former Governor Wike. You understand? Which is possible. So there are two things left for him. Yes, a movement is either he wants to move away from PDP, but he can't. His statement is more saying like he's an independent. That's where I have conflicting opinion with Governor Fubara.
All right, I understand that. Thank you very much.
He's an independent candidate. Either he comes out clear that PDP in the state is backing Wike against him, so he is moving. It's a ground on which he can decamp, obviously. All
right, Barrister Darlington, what do you think about that? Is he trying to say that they're not backing him enough in a way to say that maybe he wants to leave the party? And as Mr. Abdullahi has said, he said that's a basis for actually leaving the party. But being that he was elected as a PDP candidate under that party, where does that go? How does this play out?
Fubara cannot even try it. I don't think so. It will never happen because the stakes are too high. The embarrassment will be, in fact, it cannot be reconciled.
So do you think the party is doing enough for him? Do you think that they're supporting him enough?
Look, when you are talking of party politics in Nigeria, a lot of things are wrong. The way we play it here is not the way it should. The people who brought the democracy and party politics, that was not their original intention. Like Wike now, who is both in APC and in PDP. Please, what kind of arrangement is that? I have never had such a thing anywhere in the world. That one man will be in two parties at the same time and nobody is sanctioning him. That will tell you that something is wrong.
It's an anomaly, yes.
Yes. So when somebody is not complaining that is what PDP are looking at, because PDP, they are not in power. They are not in power. They are only trying to play safe. You cannot tell me that they are not supporting you. If they are not supporting you, I remember the time they paid you solidarity visits when this thing was going on. There was never a time PDP have come out to say, Fubara, we don't know you.
They may not have said that, but from their actions or inactions, as a matter of fact, for him to make that kind of statement, he knows that that statement is powerful. So he must have some reason for saying that.
Please, if you check, when PDP was in office, I didn't see any godfather anywhere in any of the states. It was not their kind of politics. We don't have godfathers under PDP. It was not their turf. But this thing has become so prominent under APC. If Fubara is expecting a godfather to come and be doing all this hooliganism they are doing in Rivers, it is not possible because that was not the original intention of PDP when they were formed. Do you know that up to today, APC doesn't have a board of trustees? Are you aware? Mm-hmm. A party that was formed in 2013, up to today, no board of trustees. And board of trustees are the highest decision-making organ of any party. APC are just, I can say it's a private concern. People just wake up and take decision on behalf of the whole party. That's what is going on. What we should be talking about is the infamy, the aberration going on in Rivers State. That's what we should be talking about. The government in power. What is your opinion? Why are they shading Wike from being prosecuted for all he's doing in Rivers State? That is the question here. Right. Not whether somebody is supporting Fubara or not. What do you expect a PDP to do so that they will say that all of them are now sabotaging the government? Don't you know APC and what they do? The moment PDP come out clearly now, they say, you see, they want to cause incitement against the government in Abuja. They want to cause problem in Nigeria. They are inciting the public. Nobody will look at it from where they are coming from. That is why they are playing safe. Nothing else. Look at some of it. Even some journalists who have done their job normally. Didn't you see what happened to them? So that's what people are trying to avoid. To allow APC to finish with what they are doing. By the time they have exhausted all their plans and everything, and the whole thing boomerang, they will not, in fact, you don't need to tell them that to throw in the towel and tell Nigerians, we are sorry.
All right, I'll take those as your final thoughts on this subject, Barrister Darlington. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much as well, Mr. Abdullahi.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Yeah.
The situation in Rivers State is very dire at the moment, and speculations have it that this could continue all the way up until 2027 come the next elections. But of course, we do not know what reality that would hold, because again, there is still the ongoing crisis, and the police are still barring the local government secretariats. And at the moment, there is still a lot of crisis in Rivers State. Fubara talking about the fact that the party is not in support of him, or that they are not supporting him, or that they have failed as a party, has some merit when you really think about it. But like it or not, the situation is still unfolding, and hopefully for the better, not for the worse. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and that is all we can take on today's episode of Political Voice. Thank you once again to my guests, Barrister Darlington Agomo and Mohammed Abdullahi. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms at VOP TV Live. My name is Sumtu Ajamma. Political Voice comes again tomorrow. Good evening.